this is the first time you're coming to my YouTube channel, I want to say thank you for joining and want to remind you to please subscribe. Today we continue our series on tips to learning a foreign language successfully. I've had 2 previous videos where I've shared a few tips on how you can learn a foreign language successfully, whether French, whether German, whether Italian, or whatever language it is. I'm going to do a recap and then we'll get on to the tip of today. For the first tip, I said set clear goals. Don't just learn a language for the learning's sake. Have a compelling goal, because that is what will keep you going when it becomes a bit tough. The second tip, choose the right language. And I gave you how you could know which language you want to learn, whether it was for work purposes, whether for traveling, whatever reason you want to learn the language. Just choose the right language. And today we're going to be talking about finding reliable resources. So welcome back. Now I'm going to be talking about tip 3 to learning a foreign language successfully, which is find reliable resources. When you start this journey of learning a foreign language, you cannot do it by yourself, and that is why you need resources. When we talk about resources, we're talking about human resources, material resources, maybe textbooks, maybe apps, whatever thing you want to use. So I'm going to start with the human resource. Now, when we say find the right reliable resources, the first thing is most people want to get a teacher. Now, if you want to learn a foreign language and you do not live in an environment where the language is spoken, then I highly recommend that you get a good teacher. So it could be a formal teacher, it could be an informal teacher. What do I mean by that? So when we talk about a formal teacher, we're talking about you looking for someone who is a certified or an expert in teaching the language. For instance, I teach French. I've been teaching French for over 20 years. And so you might want to look for a teacher to teach you French or to teach you that language. That's formal teaching. And then you can also get informal teachers. So when I talk about informal teachers, you want to get people that already speak the language, that could share 1 or 2 things with you. You want to make friends with them. I'm smiling because I remember while I was on my journey of learning French myself, I had a lot of French friends. In fact, I was looking for a French boyfriend. So I had a lot of French friends, and then every time I met with them, I spoke French with them. I asked questions. I was always speaking French to them, and that really helped me learn very fast. So when I talk about formal teaching and informal teaching is more effective when you live in an environment where people do not speak the language, or you can rarely find someone who speaks the language. But when you live in an environment where a lot of people speak the language, for instance, if you want to learn German and you're living in Germany, then you might want to look for informal teachers. So people that are friends and families, neighbors, to help you learn. However, if you decide to go the route of informal teaching, you should understand that you might not be able to write correctly. You might not be able to get to the point where you can write an exam. So that takes us back to setting clear goals. So why are you learning the language? The reason for learning the language would also help you understand the resource to use to be able to learn the language effectively. After human resource, we want to talk about material resources. So when we talk about material resources, we're talking about things like textbooks, we're talking about mobile apps, we're talking about websites, we're talking about magazines, we're talking about books, we're talking about things you can subscribe to online that could help you learn better. There are so many resources, and I would like to start with mobile apps. Please, I'm not doing advert for any mobile app. I'm sharing these ones because these are the best apps that I've seen in the market. But before we go on, if you're just joining, welcome. We're talking about tips to learn successfully. Kindly remember to click the like button and subscribe to my channel. Not all, and subscribe to my channel. So let's go back to mobile apps. There are a few apps I've seen that are very effective. Number 1 is Duolingo. With Duolingo, you can learn as many languages as possible. There is Stone. Apologies, Rosetta Stone. And I'm not doing advert for any one of them, but these are the resources I've used. And there are also textbooks that are used by teachers. There are some that have been published by Hachette FLE. I use that a lot because they have good resources, and they have what we call document authentique, that's in French, authentic documents. These are documents that are not necessarily written for educational purposes. So you see them teaching you using real life conversations, real life situations, real life articles, real life audio or audio conversations. So you might want to try a few of this. And if you try any and if you like it, please remember to come and share a comment here. The beautiful thing about Rosetta Stone, about Babbel and Duolingo is that you can learn as many languages as possible. For Duolingo, there's a free version, and if you want to learn seriously, I would highly recommend the paid version. And let me tell you something, you can actually do it with a group of friends. So when you have a group of friends that you want to learn the language together, when you subscribe, you get you can do a family subscription, and then it reduces the cost each person pays. Thank me for that tip later. Now we've talked about mobile app. The next thing is you want to look at textbooks. So there are textbooks that some of them are just all French. Some are French and English. Guys, the best way to learn a language is by immersion. So if you're learning with a teacher, I would recommend a all French book. That's if you're learning French. But if you're learning by yourself, then you might want to do a French and an English book, or a French and or the two languages, the language you know and the language you want to learn. So that helps you to understand better. However, the best way to actually learn is by immersion, getting into it. I usually tell my students when I used to teach a lot, the brain knows it. You just need to reactivate that in your brain. So finding resources, we've talked about formal teaching, informal teachers, we've talked about mobile applications, we've talked about textbooks. Now let's go back to other resources that could help you. Resources like magazines. You want to begin to read, and you don't have to buy them. There's so many free websites online. When you go on websites, when you go online, you can get magazines in French. You want to subscribe to some of the French TV stations like Tv5. No, I'm talking French because I speak French and I teach French, so apologies. Like Tv5, like Canal Plus. You want to look at those kind of stations. You want to go there and then begin to spend time there on a daily basis. If you are not spending time with the language you want to learn on a daily basis, you are not going to learn as fast as possible. And I'm still going to talk about that in some other videos. So today we're talking about resources, and I'm saying go to website, look for TV stations, look for magazines, look for press online about that language, and make sure that on a daily basis you're doing something, you're learning something. And there are even games you could play, particularly for French. I'm going to drop the link in the description. Particularly for French, there are games you can play, very interactive, great games for children, very interactive games for adults that would help you learn effectively. The internet has made learning anything very easy. And finally, YouTube. Yeah, YouTube. And if you're just joining the video, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Yeah, there are tons of resources on YouTube that could help you learn. However, the kind of resource you would need to learn will be determined by the reason for learning. If you're learning to write an exam, your best bet is a formal teaching. I hope you've enjoyed today's tip. If you have a question, and feel free to drop in the comment. If you liked it, please click the like button, and remember to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Take care.